Hello, Pat here. I'm responding today to a video that I just watched. I was having a bit of a debate with Little Trucking Bozo, and he put me onto this video refuting William Lane Craig and the cosmological argument. I found it pretty interesting. I suggest that if you're interested, watch it first and then come back to me to this video. I'll post a link. In it, the guy that made the video has a channel by the name of Theoretical Bullshit. Pardon the expression, but that's his name. Now, he puts forward a case that everything that existed before it existed in this form existed in another form, suggesting that energy is eternal and therefore nothing in this universe ever began to exist. It just passed into transition from one state to another. And I'm not really sure exactly what William Lane Craig thinks about a certain aspect of it, which I'm going to discuss, but I'm going to tell you what I think about it. First of all, to say that everything that exists now has always existed, just in another form, is not really. It's not answering the question, and I'll get to the reason why in a minute, but. For example, Mr. Theoretical Bullshit, I wish I knew your name because I'd rather call you by your name. You live in a house, and that house may be 20 years old, 30 years old, 40 years old, or 100 years old, but there was a time when that house did not exist. Now, yes, sure, that house, the components of that house existed in other forms. Timber that may have been a tree at some stage, maybe a seed at some stage, etc., etc. Stone that may have been part of rock face or a strata or whatever existed in another form before that. That's all true, but the house didn't exist until, say, maybe 100 years ago. You didn't exist. I presume you're in your 20s. You didn't exist 20 odd, 30, 50 years ago. You didn't exist. Although you can argue that the atoms that are in you or that you are built from existed prior to that, and you would be correct in saying that. But the argument for the first cause, which is a very interesting one, is stating that, as you already mentioned, that anything that begins to exist must have a cause. So, therefore, the first cause cannot have begun to exist. Now, this is my take on it. If that first cause, that some will call God, but we don't need to call it God because this is not a religious argument. This is just an argument about the existence of the first cause and whether or not it was intelligent or not. If that first cause is the source of the universe. Now, and that first cause is without beginning. Now, I think there are two different views on this amongst theists. I'm not sure what David Lane Craig's view is on this, but I have heard him say that God created the universe out of nothing. Now, context is important. If anyone watches this video and wants to clear this up for me about what William Lane Craig is saying, please do. But context is important. But when he says that God created the universe out of nothing, my take on that is I believe God created the universe out of nothing outside himself. Now, if God exists in a form of energy, or as a form of energy, the Bible calls him an abundant source of dynamic energy. If he exists in a form of energy that is without beginning, and he gave of himself to create the universe. That would make a lot of sense. Albert Einstein showed us that energy can become matter and matter can become energy. So if you're to believe that the source of all the physical structures, etc., in the universe, that the source of that is the creator, is the first cause, then that answers all of those questions that you're raising, mate. Now, when you say the universe may not have had a beginning and it's just passed from another state, well, yeah, that state that it passed from may well be from that energy that came from the first cause, namely God. But did this universe have a beginning? Well, everything points to it. Hawking and Penrose showed us that at one stage, judging by the movement of the galaxies, etc., moving away from each other, at one point they came together in a single point. Whether that be an act of creation or an act of a random chance event, the point is that it's fairly conclusive from what we know that this universe, as we know it, had a beginning. So anyway, I wonder what your take is on that, mate. I hope I've explained it all right, but you're welcome to respond. Thanks.